What up, what up, what up? Still Broke Podcast, back in the building. Your host, Marcus Moore, Encyclopedia Black, on the mic. You know, we got to talk about some Justin Fields, man. We had some fireworks going down this week, and it just, timing is a you know what, man. Timing is a you know what. But before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe. Still Broke Podcast at the bottom of the screen. Don't forget, you know, we still broke up in this piece. As we always say, we still broke, so we need as much support as we can. Still Broke Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what you hear and what you see. Justin Fields, man. So I think it was it maybe 2 nights ago. It was a couple nights ago. Justin Fields unfollows the Chicago Bears. And you know what? Bears Twitter goes crazy. The NFL world is, what does this mean? We know typically when guys unfollow their teams, it's everybody overboard. All right. He doesn't want to be there. He wants to get traded. You know, he's not a Bear anymore with all the hoopla with Caleb Williams and possibly them either trading a pick or keeping a pick, trading Justin. I mean, there was just a lot to be left at that point in time. So he unfollows the Bears, but he keeps on his bio that he's still the Chicago Bears quarterback. So now it's even more intrigue at this point in time because we really don't know what's going on. So then we see the next day that he happens to have a podcast with the St. Brown brothers with Equanimeous and Amon-Ra St. Brown with the Detroit Lions. They have a podcast, and he's going to be on the podcast. And Amon-Ra asked him in the teaser, so what's up with you unfollowing the Bears? And great teaser, by the way, gentlemen. Left everybody on edge till the next day. I'm sure this is going to be their most viewed podcast of the year. So, and I doubt that this was timed out. Like, I don't really think that there was a timing where Justin said, hey, I'm going to unfollow the Bears at this point, and then I have this podcast coming up. I don't think it happened that way. I just think it was coincidence or just by happenstance that it happened. And the timing couldn't be more perfect for the St. Brown podcast. So, you know, if you're a Bears fan or NFL fan, because this has been the big news that's going to be driving this kind of dry period up into the draft of what are the Bears going to do with this pick. So brilliant marketing for the podcast coming up. And we're all tuning in to see, okay, what does he say? Why did he unfollow the Chicago Bears? Well, let's just cut to the chase. So Amon-Ra asked him, since we're on the, they weren't even on the subject. Like, they weren't even on the subject of this, but he had to get it out. So why did you unfollow the Chicago Bears? And he went in to say, and again, I'm not quoting word for word here, but he's going in to say, listen, I unfollowed the Chicago Bears and the NFL. And basically, he's saying, listen, I'm about to go on vacation, and I really just don't want to see what's going on at this point in time, because every time I turn this on, or my algorithm on Instagram or whatever it is that I have to see, you know, we want Justin, we want to keep Justin, or we want to trade Justin, or we want Caleb. And at this point, he's just like, listen, I need a break from it. I'm tired of it. And he goes on to say, you know, I just want it to be over. I just want to know if they're trading me or if we're moving forward. I just want to know. I want it to be over. And it's understandable. I mean, I'm not Justin Fields, and I'm over it at this point in time. I'm over talking about it. I'm over having the discussion every chance we get. I'm over arguing with dum-dums on X or Twitter about, well, Justin did this and Justin didn't do this. And I'm tired of it as well. So to actually be the guy involved with it, I can see how exhausting it would be, and I am totally okay with that. And he goes on to say, listen, like, I unfollowed the Bears and the NFL. It wasn't just the Chicago Bears. So if you want to go about the Chicago Bears thing, he unfollowed the NFL. Not like he doesn't want to play in NFL anymore. Of course, he wants to be an NFL quarterback. So he just wanted to get everything off his algorithm. Great follow-up question by Amon-Ra. Well, hey, you follow Bleacher Report. And Justin's response to that, well, they're just posting basketball at this point in time because football season is over. Although they are most likely going to be posting about Justin in this interview. But I am totally okay with that, man. He's a human being. He's tired of it. And this is his career. Like, this is just a talking point for us. This is just content for us. This is just an opinion for us. But this is his actual career. And to go through the Chicago media and what they've been dragging him through for the last 3 years, and then the national media at this point in time, which he has a lot more supporters on the national media. But with the Caleb thing and him just not knowing, I get it. So I have no issue with him unfollowing the Chicago Bears and unfollowing the National Football League, because he's going to be on vacation and he just needs to relax and go about his business and not worry about that at this point in time. I thought another great question for Amon-Ra. And listen, I want to get a shout out to Amon-Ra because he asked the obvious questions, but he asked a question. And sometimes the obvious questions people don't ask. And he went right into it. Why did you unfollow your team? And do you want to be a Chicago Bear? And he said it. He said, listen, I want to be here. He wants to be a Bear. And you could see when he said, he's like, I've been thinking about it. And he said, I just can't see myself in any other uniform. Like, he wants to be a Bear. He can't see himself in any other uniform. And we all know, and he acknowledged, hey, this is the NFL. I understand the business. So he acknowledged end of the year, hey, this might be my last rodeo. So just in case, I just want to thank y'all. So he did that, and he gets it now. He wants to be a Bear. He wants to be a Bear for his career, but he understands how the business works, and he understands it may not happen. But he lets it be known that he wants to be a Bear. He wants to represent this city. He wants to represent this organization, and he can't see himself anywhere else at this point in his career. Now, we do know, as he said, this is the NFL. It's a business. So we do know that may not work out. The Bears are going to do what's best for them, not what's best for him. And if they feel what's best for them is to draft Caleb, they will. If they feel to keep Justin, they will do so. But it's going to be what the organization feels and not what's best for Justin. But I thought that he was very candid. He was very open about everything that they asked. It was a great, just the fellas having dialogue, But as far as all the hearsay and all the breadcrumbs, I think he kind of cleared the air. So even if you want to say, well, he's following Drake London or he's following so-and-so, he made it clear. I want to be in Chicago. That's where I want to be. I can't see myself wearing another uniform. So at this point in time, he said, if it's up to me, I'm in Chicago. So you know where he stands. So there's no other, little breadcrumbs, no other little clues leading to this as far as what Justin Fields feels and where he wants to be. He wants to be a Chicago Bear now, and whether that happens or not, the future holds that, and that's going to be coming up here in the next month or so as the combine approaches us and the NFL draft. But we know where he wants to be. So no more of the innuendo and no more of the I should say, I don't want to say, allegations or anything like that, but I would just say the agendas. No more of the agendas of what you think is going to happen. He told you. That's what he feels like. That's where he wants to be. Chicago's where he wants to be. That's where his heart is. And then we'll see what happens from there. But I want to take a different approach to this because I thought that there was something that was very important in this pod that nobody brought up. And I'm not a therapist. I don't do that. I'm not going to play one on TV. I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn last night, so I don't know. But I'm going to give you my 2 cents on this because I think that the mentality for athletes and mental health and just the mentals of an athlete and the psyche of an athlete is gigantic. And I thought that he kind of said some things that a lot of people kind of glossed over a little bit. And I want to talk about how Justin Fields sees himself. If you're a Justin Fields fan, you see him as this. You see a 6'3" guy, 220, big arm, fast, strong, just, I mean, basically out of the QB lab, man, and one of the biggest arms in the league, one of the best runners in the league, and you just see a guy, it was a 5-star recruit, number 1 or 2 ranked in between all the high school recruiting services coming out, was a stud at Ohio State, he checked all the boxes. He was a 5-star recruit, number 1 or number 2 ranked, and he went in college and did the same thing. So we see him like that. We see him as this all-time athlete. He said his one of his favorite players growing up, the reason why he wears number 1 is because of Cam Newton, and they're both out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. And we can see what he is, and we see what type of athlete and what type of player he is, and it's not a guy that comes around often. But let's talk about how he actually does. He see himself like that? Does he know that? And I want to talk about this because they asked a good question about the recruiting. And when you do interviews, you just never know what you're going to get. And you never know when you ask a question like, where can this question go? Like, where can the answer go? And I thought it was interesting of his recruitment because I was not aware of this when I was kind of following Justin Fields through high school. He was a 5-star recruit, but he was kind of a late 5-star guy. Like, he wasn't one of these guys that from 9th grade on up, he was the guy. You know, he talks about his recruitment, and he said that his first offer in 10th grade was from North Carolina. He said that he originally committed to Penn State, which I didn't know this. He originally committed to Penn State, and his choices at the time were Penn State and Tennessee. So this is, I think, around his sophomore, middle of junior year. And he chose Penn State because he thought that was the best offer he was going to get. You know, and he talked about how he started to do his 7-on-7 camps, and then that's when it took off. So I believe he said it was like mid-junior year. That's when all the offers started coming in, and that's when he became a 5-star recruit. So he wasn't a 5-star from 9th, 10th grade coming in. It kind of happened late for him that he became a 5-star recruit, and then he became the guy that won the Elite 11 and kind of moved into that number 1 spot. But he wasn't a guy that was getting a whole bunch of offers thrown at him his sophomore year. You know, he took the Penn State offer just because he thought that was the best offer he was going to get. He went on to talk about his recruitment at Georgia, and he said, you know, if he could go back and do it all over again, he wouldn't have chosen Georgia. He would have went somewhere else, but he didn't want to decommit twice. And that there was a lot of pressure per se from being from Georgia and going to Georgia. And the Trevor Lawrence thing, because Trevor Lawrence is also from Georgia, but he had picked Clemson. So he was the other guy that was coming out. So Georgia had the number 1 and 2 quarterbacks in the country coming out, and, you know, it was just like, hey, I guess I should go to Georgia because I'm from Georgia. The other guy went to Clemson, even though he knew Georgia was coming off a national championship and Jake Fromm was a freshman that year. So they were very close in age, but he kind of felt that pressure of committing to Georgia. And going to Ohio State, I thought was interesting as well because he said, I never visited Ohio State. I didn't really know anything about them, but they said I could play. So that's where I went. I also want to bring up what he said about him being a 10th grader because they asked him this, like, what was your best moment of being an NFL player? And it wasn't the Atlanta game where everybody was chanting his name. You know, it wasn't a Miami game where he was going crazy. Like, it was the first preseason game because that was his first NFL game. And he went on to explain, he said, because when I was in 10th grade, you know, if you would have told me, you know, if I'd have been an NFL player playing for Chicago Bears, he's like, my goal was, he said, hey, in 10th grade, I would have walked on at a school like Clemson. He said, I didn't even care if I played or not. I just would have walked on there just to be a part of the team. And then I would have thought I would have gone to go work an office job. So when I started to put all this together, I said, listen, in 10th grade, you didn't even think you were good enough to earn a scholarship. You didn't even think so. You thought you're going to walk on at a place and just be a part of it. You thought you're going to work an office job. You took the Penn State commitment because you thought that was the best you could get. And then once you became who you became, you went to Georgia because you thought that was what people wanted you to do. You went to Ohio State because you just could play. It wasn't that you just wanted an opportunity to play and just be a part of something. You know, a school you didn't even trip to, didn't know much about. And when I talk about the psyche of a team, and I started listening to this, and I'm like, does Justin Fields know he's Justin Fields? Like, is he aware that he's the 5-star recruit that's the 6'3", 220 guy, that's a 4.4 speed guy, that's supposed to be the best player in the league? Like, we know that from your junior year on and at Ohio State that you were that guy, but don't forget that when you went to Georgia, he got spot duty because Jake Fromm was still the starter there. So I started to think to myself, like, is he embracing who he is, and does he realize who he is? I always said this, and switching gears just a little bit. I always say this about Caleb, is that one thing I like about Caleb. I like a lot of things about Caleb, but one thing that I appreciate about Caleb is that he steps into his greatness. Like he knows who he is. He knows who he wants to be. He knows who he's supposed to be. And he knows everything that comes with that. And he doesn't shy away from it. You always saw him putting the crown of LeBron on his head at USC because he understood who he was. And he understood who he can be and how great he could be. And he stepped into that greatness. And he stepped into that responsibility. Now, whether you like what he did with his mom or you like him skipping the press conference, that's another story for another day. But he understands his greatness and who he can be and who people want him to be. And I respect that about Caleb because a lot of players don't understand that and don't get that. And they struggle with their career because they don't know who they are, don't believe in himself as a player. Caleb does. He believes who he is as a player. With Justin, I don't know. I don't know that. We got a guy that's immensely talented, but I don't know that he knows that. Like, I don't know that he doesn't see himself as a guy that's I'm lucky to be in the NFL instead of a guy that's like, no, I belong here. This was my destiny. This is who I'm supposed to be. Like I sometimes feel like he sees himself as a 10th grader who didn't have the offers in as a guy that was like, hey, I'm just going to go walk on and hopefully I'm a part of it and great. Or maybe I'll just go to Ohio State because they'll let me play. Instead of saying, no, I'm the number one player in the country. I'm a 5-star recruit. I do things that nobody can do. I have skills, I have talents, I have abilities that not many people in the world have. And I'm going to step into that greatness and be great because of that. I don't know that he sees himself like that. Like now when I hear this stuff and I'm not saying this is a bad thing. What I'm saying is that I understand this because I've always thought this about Justin. And I've said this and I can see by his body language and just how he plays. And I said this to myself. I said, you know what's going to change Justin Fields? I mean, obviously we got the footwork thing and we got, getting the ball out a little bit quicker. But you know what would change Justin Fields? You know what would change him with the Chicago Bears? I always said this. What would change Justin Fields with the Chicago Bears is belief. Belief. The Chicago Bears wrapping their arms around Justin Fields and saying he is the best. That we have a guy in the room that is extremely dynamic, that is extremely special, that makes plays on Sundays that guys will pay a whole bunch of money to see. That we got a guy behind center that can do things that maybe only one or two guys in the league can do. We have that guy and nobody else does. And luckily for us, the Chicago Bears, he touches the ball every offensive play. And because he does, we'll take our chances. We got a great chance of winning. And because the Bears have never done that, and it's always been like, well, he needs to improve here, he needs to improve here, he needs to do this, and never really just fell in love with Justin like the Baltimore Ravens do with Lamar Jackson. They never just said, listen, the other stuff will come, but this guy can do some things that not many people walking planet Earth can do. And we're lucky to have one of those guys. And I feel like saying that to him and wrapping your arms around him, you will get better production out of him because of the belief the organization has in him. And now that I hear him talk about kind of his recruiting process here and why he went to Ohio State, I believe it even more now. I really do. And I feel like we believe in Justin Fields. We believe in a talent. We believe he's one of the most dynamic players we've ever seen at the position in the history of the NFL. But does he believe that? Does he know that? Or does he see himself as a guy that's a possible walk-on that doesn't even know if he wants to play, just a walk-on that wants to get an office job? Like, which guy does he see himself as? And it's like, can we believe this? Like a guy with this size, with this speed, with these talents, thought he was going to work an office job? I never thought that. Listen, I didn't make it to the NFL. I'm a Division I athlete. Okay, but a Division I Power 5 athlete, scholarship athlete. I never not thought, I never that I wasn't going to be a pro until it happened. And you probably still couldn't tell me that. But this guy, who's the number one player in the country, okay, the number one player, because everything happened so late for him that he wasn't the highly touted guy coming in, that he never thought he would be in the NFL. And then to be the quarterback for the Chicago Bears, one of the most prestigious franchises in the history of the league, a team that has more Hall of Famers on it than any other NFL team. He never thought that. So I wonder, as I get into the psyche of Justin Fields, is that I believe in Justin Fields as a player. A lot of people believe in his abilities and believe that he has abilities beyond measure. Like there's dual threat quarterbacks, and then there's Justin Fields, Lamar, and Josh Allen. Like there's levels to this, right? A Kyler Murray. Like there's levels to this. But does he believe that? Does he believe in his mind that he belongs here? Does he believe in his mind that he should be a top 10, top 5 guy? Does he own that greatness? Does he own his greatness? Does he own what he's supposed to be? Does he own the responsibility of being a top 10, top 5 quarterback in this league because of his abilities? Does he believe he's that guy? I question. That I question. And I will say this, for whatever place he's going to go, whether it's with Chicago or whether it's with another team, whether it's Atlanta, Pittsburgh that's been thrown out there right now, he needs to be with a program, with a team that believes in him as a player and that believes in all his abilities and falls in love with everything that he brings to the table, because that's how you're going to get the most out of this kid. And again, I just believe that even more after listening to this podcast. And it was something that nobody brought up that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention, that, listen, man, the psyche may be a little bit here. Now, I don't see this as a detriment at all. I don't see it as something that we should say is a bad thing at all. I just look at it as saying that we need to understand that the psyche of anybody in any job and the mentals of anybody at any job are gigantic. It's huge, especially as a pro athlete, when everything that you do is put on display. It's like the guy can't even unfollow anybody out here without the whole world going crazy about it because of social media and who he is. It's like, so we have to understand that. But I thought it was interesting to look at the psyche of who Justin Fields is and what he believes and who he sees himself as. Does he see himself as the best, or a person that could be the best ever? Or does he see himself as a guy that's like, hey, I'm happy to have an opportunity to play football in the National Football League, and doesn't see himself as a true great yet, or a person that can be one of the greats? Because you hear that from other players. You hear that from his teammates. You hear that from a lot of the NFL world of saying, listen, his ceiling hasn't even been tapped yet. Like, this guy can be one of the best in the league right now. I had a teammate of his, and we'll get into that later when we have him on the show, because we will, says that he believes he can be top 5. He can be top 5. So I wonder where his head is on that and where his psyche is. And I wanted to bring that to attention because I thought it was interesting how he viewed himself and kind of his recruitment and how he came up. And again, I'm not a therapist. That's not what I do, but that was just my observation. But before I get out of here, one mistake you did make, Justin. I've been a Justin guy. Everybody knows I'm a Justin guy. I'm not a Caleb guy. I think Caleb's going to be a great player. But I'm a Justin guy. But Justin, man, come on. Bro, come on. You cannot go on any show and be the quarterback for the Chicago Bears and say that LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan. You cannot. That's where you messed up, brother. I'm still with you, but I'm docking you a couple points. Now, I understand you're 24 years old and LeBron been in the league for 21, so your whole life, that's all you see. But you see that behind me? You see that right there? You see that guy? That's the guy. That's the guy. One more time. Better stop playing now, okay? Now, you got my full support as the quarterback at QB1 for Chicago Bears. But you keep acting up now. You keep playing with me, I'm going to have to move you down now. When somebody asks you, there's only one answer. So you see all this stuff behind me? There's only one answer. I know you didn't see him play, so I'm gonna try my hardest to try to give you a pass. I don't know if I can do it. I don't think I can do it, but I'm gonna try to do it. I don't think I can. But there's only one answer to the LeBron MJ debate. You better get it right, son. If you don't know, now you know. You better ask somebody. Go watch The Last Dance again. If you didn't, I know you didn't see him, so go watch it again. Matter of fact, while you're on vacation, that's what you need to do. Put it in that Netflix documentary, Last Dance. Watch it. There you go. Because if you're gonna be the quarterback for Chicago Bears, there's only one answer. And it ain't LeBron James. It ain't him. It's Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Michael Air Jordan. That is it. Don't make that mistake again. Don't make it again now. Don't do it. All right? You know better. You know better. I was a guy that said, listen, we need to get you signed up for a Nike or Jordan brand deal. I know you're with Reebok right now. I don't like it. That's your business. That's your pockets. But I said, listen, you are a Nike Jordan brand guy. You're too dynamic of a player to be with Reebok right now. Too dynamic in the city of Chicago. But see, now you're messing it up. You're messing up the money right now because you're saying the wrong stuff. You're messing up the money talking about LeBron James. And LeBron's great. LeBron's great. No disrespect to LeBron. LeBron is great. But when somebody asks you, as long as you're the quarterback for the Chicago Bears, the Bears in the city of Chicago, Monsters of the Midway, and somebody asks you, I don't care if you lie. I don't care if you're lying. You better say Michael Jeffrey Jordan. You better say it. Simple as that. If you don't believe it, lie about it. People do it all the time. You'll be okay. That's the only mistake you made on that podcast. Other than that, it was great. Don't do it again. But all right, folks. That's it on this one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Still Broke Podcast. We'll be back with another one. Hit me in the comments if you got something to say. Definitely let me know what you think about what I thought about the psyche of JF1, QB1 in Chicago. And we'll see what happens going forward. But again, Still Broke Podcast. And we out of here. We appreciate you. Peace.